Hi everyone, it's Lindy on here from Pink Whisper Designs. Today we're going to make this kind of fun and funky embossed skulls card. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to be using a brand new product from the Tim Holtz 2022 Halloween collection, and it's the 3D texture fades, and it's called Skulls. And take a look at this. This is amazing. These 3D skulls that create an entire background, or you could just individually use these skulls if you want to cut them out. But to get started, I've got a panel of cardstock here that measures 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I've got my pumice stone Distress Oxide ink, and I'm also using a blending brush, and I'm going to cover this entire panel in that pumice stone. And then let's grab this embossing folder, and I want to open it up, and on the top portion I want to ink this up with my black Soot Distress Oxide ink, and I'm going to apply plenty of ink. My ink pad is a little bit dry at this point, so I did have to ink this up a couple of times. So I'm going to go ahead and ink it up, and then I'm going to place that card panel, the pumice stone side up, close that embossing folder, and then I'll run it through my Spellbinders Platinum 6 die cutting machine. And what I like to do is take the platform and a couple of pieces of cardboard. These are just some cardboard pieces from some old notepads that I had, but you should use the sandwich that works best for you. So now you can see that it didn't ink that up as much as I would have wanted. I wanted a little bit more black in there. So this is basically pushing that black ink down into the crevices of our paper. Now this is really easy to line it back up. You just want to place it right back into position. It'll kind of lock down into place there. I'll close that lid, and then we can go ahead and run that through again. And I like to run it through a couple of times just to give that ink some time to transfer. And now you can see this is beautiful. I just love this. It's just so fun. So now you can easily clean off your embossing folder. I'm spritzing it with a little bit of water from my distress sprayer, and I'm wiping it off with a dry towel. So now let's go ahead and take a small blending brush, go back to that black Soot Distress Oxide ink, and I'm going to go all around the edges. And I'm using this smaller brush. I don't want to come in too far. I just want to create a little frame around this. And that'll just bring our eye in towards the center of the card a little bit more. So once that's done, let's grab some Distress Mixed Media Heavystock, again from the Tim Holtz collection. And now I've got these beautiful Distress crayons. These are from the Halloween 2022 collection. And these are the Pearlized Distress crayons, and this is set number 3 and set number 4. And this one here that I'm using is called Fortune Teller. I just love the names as well. Everything's got a really cool, funky name to it. Now what I want to do here is lay down a little bit of that crayon, and then I'm spritzing a little bit of water on my mat there, picking it up with the water up with my finger and just kind of smudging that ink around. That's what's really nice about these crayons, is they are a water-based product, so we can move it around with some water and with our finger. And then this one is called the Wicked Elixir, and this is this beautiful lime green color. Again, I'm going to just use my finger. Now you could use a water brush here as well, whatever way you want to do your blending. But I didn't want it to be even. Now I've got the Harvest Moon and the Burning Ember. And again, I didn't want the ink to be perfectly even. I want it to be kind of messy here because we're going to be die cutting some images, some flowers and leaves out of these. And so I want those light and dark areas. And here, by mixing those two colors together, you can see that beautiful shade that I get. And also you can see that pearlescent nature of these. They have that beautiful pearlized finish to them. So I do want to mention that this set 3 and 4 of these crayons are from the Halloween 2022 collection and will not be available again next year. I believe the way Tim's going to be doing this is every other year he's going to make these products available. So next year set 1 and 2 will be available again. So if you didn't get a chance to get those last year, you'll be able to get those next year. That's my understanding. So if you are interested in these, you do want to pick them up fairly soon because they will not be available next year. I believe they'll be available the year after. So I hope that makes sense. I just thought I'd share that with you. And also, by the way, all the products I'm using today are listed and linked down below and also on my blog. So now all I've done here is I added another layer of color, and I'm going to go ahead and heat set that. So you can keep adding layers of color here. I just didn't think it was quite dark enough, and I wanted some more light and dark areas. So I just added a bit more color. And now we can go ahead and grab the dyes that we're going to be using. I've got the Sizzix Thinlits from Tim Holtz, and these are called the Funky Foliage. And we're going to be using some of the flowers and leaves from this set. And the reason I selected this set is because they are kind of funky looking. Some of the flowers have kind of a pointy end to them. The petals have like a pointy edge. So I just thought it'd be kind of interesting for our Halloween card. Now that set of leaves there, I did change my mind on it later on, and I decided just to use this fern-shaped leaf instead. I thought it had a lot more movement to it, and I thought size-wise it was a little bit better. But let's go ahead and grab the Sizzix Sidekick machine, and we can run these through. So there you see I'm getting rid of that leaf, and I'm going to go ahead and die cut this fern-shaped leaf. And these little flowers have the centers as well. They layer up the centers. You'll get like a solid center and then a little overlay, and I'll show you that here. So again, all of these flowers and leaves are going to have that pearlized effect to them. So I went back to that burning ember, and I decided to just do one of the flowers in that color, just solid. So I didn't mix it with that Harvest Moon color this time. So I'm going to go ahead and run those through the die cutting machine, and that'll give us lots of little centers to choose from here. So I'm going to go ahead and glue these together using the Nuvo Deluxe adhesive. So here you can see what I mean. You get that little solid piece, you lay that down, and then you've got this little overlay piece. So you get a lot of dimension and interest to these little flowers. And here for these centers, I use that combination of the orange and the yellow colors together. So that gave it a really interesting center. So now I've got everything all set, and again, I wanted to show you how pretty these are with that pearlized effect on them. So now I've got some cardstock here. It measures 4 1/4 by 11 inches. This is a 100-pound black cardstock. I'll score it at 5 1/2 inches, so we'll have a top folding A2 size card, which will measure 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So we've got our skulls panel. I'm going to add a little glue to the back here, but you do want to make sure that you hit the high spots here. So I'm going to take a little time to make sure I get glue on those high spots, because otherwise it doesn't necessarily stick down the way you think that it would. You could also use a double stick tape here as well. That might actually be a little bit easier. So I'm going to just glue that down, and then I decided to put a couple of heavy things on top of that and let that dry. So now I've got this really fun Halloween fringe from Tim Holtz, again from the 2022 Halloween collection, and this is just so fun. What you can do with this is just kind of scrunch it up, just kind of roll it in a ball and scrunch it up, and it's going to give it all kinds of dimension. This would be great on a party favor box. I just think this is so cool. I love this. And you could also add a little ink to it as well. So, play around with that, but what I'm going to do is just lay it across the bottom of the card here, and I'll use some 1/4 inch double-sided Scor-tape to position this down. Now, what I didn't realize with this fringe is it's kind of multi-layered. I guess think of it like a dinner napkin where it has many layers to it, and I didn't realize until I was starting to stick it down here that it actually has 3 layers to it. So as I started kind of fussing with it, I realized that. So let's cut away the excess, and then I'll show you what I mean here. So here is where I realized there were 3 layers to this fringe. So now I'm going to come in with some glue and I'll glue those other 2 layers right down in place here. So that makes it even more fun because you're really going to get a lot of dimension from this. You could offset these a little bit if you don't want to line it up perfectly straight. Or you could certainly just separate these layers and use them individually and stretch the use of your product a little bit further. So whatever you decide to do here, but I did decide to just glue those layers down to give it a nice thick fringe down at the bottom here. So now I've got my flowers all die cut, and that little tray is so cool. I just got that. That's that little Pinkfresh Studio triangle brass tray. I just love that little thing. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead. It's the little things, right? I'm going to go ahead and grab that little brush again, that little blending brush, and add some black soot around the edges of all these. Now, that won't take away that pearlescent finish. It will just darken the edges just to give a little bit more of a spooky look, but that pearlescent nature will still stay there. So don't worry about that. You're still going to get that effect from these. So let me give you a little bit closer look here at these. Now, I needed something for my sentiment, so I grabbed my quote chips from the Halloween collection. Now these are from, I'm going to say, a few years back. I'm not sure if they're still available. I will list and link them below if they are. But if not, what you can also use here is your Dymo machine to create a nice label, or you could use some label stickers from the Tim Holtz collection. But you can see how cool these are. I just love all these different ones. So I kind of fished through there and decided to go with the Foolish Mortals. And what I'm going to do is just glue that down right on top of this fringe. I'm just going to add plenty of glue here to make sure that stays in place nicely. And then let's go ahead and start adding our flowers. So I'll just kind of position these in place just to get that layout that I'm looking for, and then we can go ahead and glue these down. I'll cut away some of the ferns and then I'll use those leftover pieces to fill in the gaps. So now we can start gluing these in place. And then for some of those flowers, I'm going to just shape the petals a little bit on these flowers. I'll just kind of use my fingers just to kind of pop those up a little bit, just to give them a little bit more dimension. And I think these flowers are really perfect for this project because they're not too perfect. They're just kind of fun and funky, and they go really well with this Halloween theme. And now you see, I'm going to grab those leftover ferns and just take some of the little leaves from those and just tuck them in here and there. Just again, to add a little bit more green here and just kind of fill in those little gaps. So now I've got the Tim Holtz Idea-ology Adornments. This is the Halloween collection again. And this has these 2 beautiful bats and also some little spiders. And these little spiders are charms. There's a little hole there on the back. I'm just showing you that with the pick tool there. And then we'll use our Ranger multi-medium matte glue and add a little dollop of it here and then tuck that spider in. And I'm just going to hide that little opening for the charm just underneath the petals of those flowers there. So that'll be a little hidden element that we have. So now I've got another panel for the inside of my card, so I just cut that down about 1/4 of an inch, and that'll sit inside. So I'm adding a layer of that pumice stone over the top, just like we did earlier, and then I'm going to frame it with the black soot ink using that small blending brush. Now I'm going to leave mine blank inside, but you could stamp a sentiment here while you have this out. I'm going to wait and decide on that, but if you want to, you could add your sentiment now. So let's go ahead and just glue that on the inside of the card. So let's take a closer look at the finished card, and you can see that beautiful 3D embossing on these skulls. I just think that is amazing. The detail on these are amazing. Then we've got our pretty floral arrangement and that little spider tucked inside just for a little bit of added interest. And I love this fringe. I think I'll be using it again and again. So I really hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please hit the like button and subscribe. And don't forget to visit me at pinkwhisperdesigns.com. Also, hit that notification bell so that you don't miss a single video. As always, thank you so much for joining me today. Have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.